Here we go now with the White Sox and Cubs. They begin tomorrow. It's a short two-game series. This is fascinating. I think more so at the Cubs right now than the White Sox. White Sox season's been over. They really just have not gotten anything started there with Mr. Jesse Rogers, who's going to help us here. All right, let's start with the Chi Sox. Jess, and good to have you with us, of course. What are they going to do here? Is everybody available? We've all read the reports. 4 people are untouchable. Everybody else is available. What's the stance on that? Can you give me some thoughts there? Let me hear.
Yeah. They may need to back up the truck, Mad Dog. This is as bad of a season that I can remember. Last year, at the end of the year, they won 81-81, and the general manager Rick Hahn called it embarrassing. So what's 19 under 500? It means they're going to move on. I think it's the obvious candidates. I think it gets a little too complicated when you think of Dylan Cease on the move. He's got 2 more years of team control. Luis Roberts coming into his own. Eloy Jimenez doesn't have much trade value when you talk about the injuries that he has. He's currently banged up. Yohan Moncada's been banged up. So here we go. Lucas Giolito, first and foremost. This was written in stone a couple years ago. He was never going to re-sign with the White Sox. He's moving on. Lance Lynn is interesting. If you could pitch him only against right-handed hitters, he'd be great. He's got some swing and miss, gives up a ton of home runs to lefties, but maybe a change of scenery. He's the kind of guy where a pennant race might bring out the best in him. So there we go. Giolito. Lynn, couple decent relievers. Joe Kelly just back from the injured list. He had a good stretch. Overall numbers just okay. Kendall Graveman blew a save last night, but numbers pretty good. He still has a year left. So those are a couple 4 pitchers, to be honest, that are there for the taking. Could they move around some position players? Yeah, but I doubt it. Andrew Vaughn might be a guy, but I doubt it. Gavin Sheets could be included in something. They need to revamp what they do in the left side of the batter's box. They have the least amount of home runs from lefties, so they've got to figure out a new path there. But it's really those pitchers that could be on the move. Clevenger. But look, Dylan Cease, no. Luis Robert, no, unless you're going to blow up the whole thing. And I don't think they have the appetite to do that.
And Tim Anderson, despite a terrible year, is going nowhere. Is this correct? He's going to stay? They're still going to build around him?
Yeah, it's funny. I should not bury the lead because he is the biggest question mark of the position players. He's finally gotten hot, Mad Dog. And you know what it's like to get hot in the last week before the trade deadline. It could open some eyes. He's had a terrible year defensively. He's had a terrible year on the field, off the field, physically, mentally, just has not been in the game. But lately, he has played well. Could the Dodgers give them a call? Maybe. Could a team want him and move him to second base? Maybe. I think he needs another hot week. I don't think they're necessarily building around Tim Anderson. No, I think he's on the move. I think there's a change of scenery. I just don't know if it's now, in 2 months, or a year from now, because they do have a team option that's pretty good. But he's got to continue to play better. It's been an awful year for him.
And that's the White Sox scenario. Somebody better have called Ron Copa because his umpiring on Friday afternoon in the 8th inning for the poor Cardinals was as bad as I've ever seen with Leiter with the bases loaded. That's neither here nor there, but I needed to say it. Second, because it was a joke. I mean, he called 2 strikes, would have changed the whole game. And I bring it up because the Cardinals are playing better, and they end up losing 3 straight. And the Cubbies, as it turns out, win 3 out of 4 and put a little life in their team. Now, I'm not sure if this means or any changes that they, now not going to trade, but the Cubs are interesting right now. They're not out of it at 5.5, and I got Bellinger, who's on fire, but they're still 3 games under 500. What's up with them? Let me hear.
Yeah, this is a fascinating situation that Jed Hoyer and the Cubs are in. First of all, Cardinals are moving on. Starting today, John Mozeliak is sifting through offers. Jordan Montgomery did not perform well yesterday, but he's their best pitcher. So we know what the Cardinals are doing for the first time in forever. They are subtracting, not adding. The Cubs are kind of caught in the middle. I think Jed Hoyer, his head is telling him to subtract. Like, it's still tough enough to catch Milwaukee and Cincinnati, let alone compete in the playoffs. But after selling off the last 2 Julys, maybe he holds. This week is very important, very important. They have 7 games, 6 of them against below 500 teams, 2 against the White Sox, 4 more against the Cardinals. Listen to the Milwaukee Brewers and Cincinnati Reds schedule. First of all, they play each other this week. Then Milwaukee goes to Atlanta. Cincinnati goes to the Dodgers. Best 2 teams in the National League. The Cubs should make up some ground. What if they're 4 out and a game under 500? maybe he does stand pat. It may not be the smartest thing to do because you can get a haul for Cody Bellinger. And Mad Dog, that was the whole idea from the beginning. Sign him to a one-year deal. If we're not competing for something like a deep playoff run, let's flip him. That could not have worked out better. The guy has been awesome. So you could get 2 or 3 good prospects for him and recharge and maybe even go after him in the offseason because, Chris, they need left-handed power if they're going to compete in the future. He is it. But he's not signing this week. He's not signing in early October. Scott Boras is going to shop him all over the winter meetings, and he'll sign one of those massive deals. And it could be with the White Sox. It could be with the Cubs. But why would you keep him if you don't think you have a shot at winning? That's the only reason you would keep him. They don't have a realistic shot at winning. But sometime emotion takes over. You haven't been in the playoffs since 2020. Maybe Jed sits pat after a big week. They have to have a big week. They've got to get back to 500.
We'll see. And Stroman has not pitched well. I know he had a decent start the other day, but he has not pitched well. Well, I mean, some of his value may have decreased. Last 4 or 5 starts, he's been so-so at best. What's up with him? Let me get a feel there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he needed the All-Star break. He didn't go, which was smart. He was tiring. His last 3 starts weren't great. I mean, I'm not an expert, but when you're leaving pitches up, it looks like you're tiring a little bit. He had a good first start after the break, then didn't pitch well last time out, but there were 3 errors behind him. Of course, you got to pitch around them. He wasn't able to. He's fine. I think he'll get something back. Maybe it's not an A-plus prospect, but it certainly is a B. I don't think he's going to go back to New York or somewhere like that, but Houston could use him. Cincinnati could use him. Well, you know, one of these teams that's still trying to build something could certainly use him. Maybe the Rangers. Who knows? Maybe the Dodgers. Good infrastructure there, good team around him. So I still think he's on the move. But like you said, you know, not pitching his best, so maybe the prospect comes down a little bit. But, man, his sinker's been on all season. Lately, though, he's been leaving some balls up.
We shall see. This will be an interesting week in the Windy City with these 2 teams. Jesse, we'll keep in touch. Thanks very much here today. Always appreciate.
You got it, Chris.